Hey, welcome to another episode of In Good Faith. If you're just catching up with us from the seasons that have been, this is the season. 'Tis the season of just me. Chelsea is not in this season. It's just me. So I am recording from my den where I have black lights and all these ridiculous trinkets because apparently I'm 46 going on 12. Um, Man, I'm so excited to share this episode with you all. The individual I'm about to interview here in a few moments is Trang Green, and her story. I would say her story is going to be one of the most extraordinary stories you've ever heard in your entire life. And so buckle your seatbelts. She is a force. She is hilarious, and her husband are some of the dearest, nearest friends to Chelsea and I. We love them. She is the founder and chairwoman for Dress for Success in Oklahoma. She authored that chapter in Oklahoma, and the work that she does for incarcerated women in Oklahoma is unprecedented, and it goes all the way to presenting her case before governing bodies and such. But her backstory, her family story, is going to blow your mind. I say that to say, uh, I currently, in recording this, have a canker sore. I don't know if you ever get those like sores in your mouth, but they're just so annoying, and they're little, but man, they're agitating. And have you ever? I don't know if you've ever been here, but for those watching, I'm a God worshiper, Jesus follower. He's changed my life, and I love to follow in the footsteps of Jesus. And sometimes I just kind of complain to him. I'll just be like, God, what's up with the sore in my mouth? I catch a break. Yesterday, I played a golf match in a tournament I was in, and I lost. I lost to a really kind man who doesn't play golf as well as me, but I lost to him. And it was like, kind of upset with God. I really am. And you could find that silly and ridiculous because I think it is, but just complaining about losing a golf match and having a sore in my mouth. And suddenly you have a conversation with somebody, with some human whose story puts everything in perspective. And that is, in fact, what's happened today with Trang. I know her story. I love her story, and it's impacted me deeply. But today, again, it has hit me in the most meaningful and significant way. In a moment, you'll see we will share tears together, and I can't hold them back. As the extraordinary story of her mother and father put life in perspective. Do you need some perspective today? Are you like me? Are you thinking about? I'm not saying God didn't care about your golf match and your canker sores. He does. But sometimes we need perspective. Sometimes we need scale. Sometimes we need to realize what really matters, what's really important. Perspective and scale often come in the form of this little attitude called gratitude. That's how it settles in over us. Suddenly you start to see the things not that you don't have, like a win at a golf match, the things you don't have, like a mouth without sores, but you start to see the things that you do have. And you start to just genuinely, from your guts, get grateful and just say, God, I thank you for my wife. Thank you for my kids. My middle son, my second son, Judah Elliott Wendell Smith, is about to turn 18 years old. By the time this airs, he'll be 18, 6'5", some 195 pounds. My 18-year-old who carries my name and my father's name. It's wild. God, thank you for my sons. Thank you for my daughter. Thank you for my family. Thank you for the gifts and abilities that you have given me. And all of a sudden, scale settles in. Perspective settles in. And it can revolutionize the day you're living. It can. So I'm not going to hold back. I think this episode has the power to do that for you. It did it for me. Perhaps you've not heard Trang Green speak before or share her story. You are in for an extraordinary journey and a real gift today. And I almost want to give you a guarantee. You listen to this episode all the way through, you're going to get some scale. You're going to get some perspective. And perhaps some of the painful, difficult things in your life will be overrun and overcome and overwhelmed by the beauty and the gifts and the blessings you do have. We need perspective. We probably need perspective more today than we've ever needed it before. I am honestly, truly enjoying this season. I love doing this podcast with my wife. And yet, this season, it's just me. And I'm enjoying our time together. I'm enjoying the conversations with friends. I'm grateful that you have joined us for In Good Faith season 3, I believe is what we've numbered this one. So, without any further delay, ladies and gentlemen, my friend and extraordinary human being, Trang Green. Here we go. I am so excited to have one of my truest friends on the podcast. As you know, this is an unprecedented season where Chelsea is absent and we can finally have the fun we want to have. I'm kidding. Everybody relax. I'm kidding. Trang Green is here, one of our dearest and nearest friends. She is the founder and chairwoman of Dress for Success in Oklahoma. But let me tell you, her story is one of the most compelling, and the way Trang tells it, hilarious. But you are looking at one of my favorite humans on planet Earth, Trang Green. How are you?
Good. Hi, everybody. I'm so
I'm
excited.
so glad you're here.
I so love Chelsea, and you're right, though. Like, now that
Yeah.
you're like, she's not here to reel you back. So you're going to be unhinged this season. So I just can't wait.
Well, that's why I'm apparently in a club now. Like, I've totally changed the vibe.
You kind of look like you're in like a club. I don't know, a DJ that's going to pop out from the back. I don't know what's happening.
This is my office. This is how manic I am.
Am I your first guest on the season without?
You are the third guest. I'm sorry, but 3 is a really good number.
3 is a great number.
Really good number. Okay, so your family immigrated from Vietnam, and your story is so incredible. Your story is almost as glowy as your skin, and I'm so sick and tired of I don't know what your skin routine is. We had Dr. Caroline Leaf this year, and she's 62, and she has the skin of a 12-year-old. You have a skin of a newborn child, and I'm tired of it. To be honest, I'm sick and tired of it. But you don't have to tell us your skin routine if you don't want to. But could you kind of weave that in to your extraordinary story?
Well, the first step is to be Asian. So I don't know what routine I can help you with that. But being Asian really helps. It's a genetic thing. My mom has great skin too. You know, we also don't like sun. So sunscreen has always been a big thing. Like my mom used to put sunscreen in everything, wear hats. I mean, you see Asian people, they wear hats all the time outside. And even in Vietnam, like wear like long sleeves, like they don't like their skin to be exposed. So like just cut back on the tanning people out there. And, you know, I eat fish. I wash my face every night. I never go to bed with a full face of makeup. And then you buy just good quality makeup. That's what you do. You do.
I got to change my makeup routine.
That's what it is, honestly. I mean, Chelsea has great skin, so you should ask her.
She does. That's cool.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess my story, how I ended up in like Oklahoma, like out of all the places, you know, like in the world. Yeah. So my parents are from Vietnam, so I'm Vietnamese. They're from South Vietnam, though. So if people out there who know the history of the Vietnam War and all that stuff, so it was the South versus the North. And so when the South fell, my parents made a decision that they needed to leave Vietnam, come to America, just leave in general for a better life. Now, my mom was 8 months pregnant with my older sister at that time. And so they left Vietnam when she was 8 months pregnant on a boat, like a little boat. with dozens of other people on this little boat. My dad always loves telling us the story that like he was the captain. He's like,
This story is incredible.
I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, like I was like the captain of this boat, and I like saved everybody. I'm like, okay, cool. So he tells the story, which is like heroic, amazing, and like my parents were, I grew up Catholic, so they're devout Catholics, and my dad always said like the biggest prayer he had before. I think they tried to escape a total of 6 times, and they were caught every time, thrown in prison, and then they were releasing people pretty quickly through the prisons because everybody was escaping at that time. But my mom was, again, almost 8 months pregnant at that time, so they didn't leave her incarcerated long. But every time they were released, they tried again and again. And how you snuck out of the country at that time is when my dad said that you load everyone on the boat, this little dinghy that they would make. They would have a motor on the little boat, but they would swim behind the boat, and everybody would be on the boat, and just a handful of guys would swim behind it to push it so far out of the dock before they could cut the engine on. Because when you turn the engine on, the people that were monitoring the marina area would start shooting in the dark at wherever that noise was, right? Because they didn't want people escaping. So that's what they did, like a total of 6+ times before they were finally able to get far enough out, cut the engine on, everyone jump on the boat, and was able to leave. So fast forward to when they were able to actually escape Vietnam. My mom and dad were at sea for about 2 weeks, just floating. And they had
Like 8 months pregnant.
8 months pregnant, right? And women out there, what they tell you when you're 8 months pregnant. You can't fly. You're not supposed to be on a horse, definitely not on a boat. Go do your prenatal visits, all the things. And my mom was like, no, like we can't have our first child here in this country. We got to go. So that's what they did. They were prayerful about it. My dad said the biggest prayer he had was he prayed that God would save everybody on that boat, because they heard stories, right? Pirates were a real thing. People were actually stopped because everyone knew that people were escaping Vietnam during this time, the boat people. And so pirates would come and like rob them, right? Like find these boats of refugees, take the women, take their jewelry or whatever they had taken to start over in a new country, take their food, and then just leave them honestly to die out in the middle of nowhere. Take their gas, whatever they had on the little boat. So my dad said they were robbed a total of 3 times on this little dinghy. So like food was dwindling. And he said, and again, he was like, I just being really prayerful. Like we just need to end up on some land that was not in Vietnam. He knew the direction he was going, but again, there was no maps. There were no compasses. So he was just like being very prayerful about it. So on the 3rd time, he said, but it was pitch black. And you can imagine like in the middle of the ocean with no lights, you're just like sitting there waiting for the sunlight to come back up so you can go ahead and start your journey again in the morning. Yeah. He said at night, he could hear boats and lights from a pirate boat coming towards them. And he was like, oh no, not again. He's like, we really truly have no more food and jewelry and all the things that they want left on this boat. And so when they came to the boat, they went through everything. And sure enough, there wasn't really anything for them to take. My mom was 8 months pregnant, so they like left her alone. But I had my aunt, my mom's sister, was on the boat, and she was a younger, very beautiful lady at that time, right? So they were like, okay, well, we're going to take her. And so my mom, being a very fierce, brave person, and she's always been like this, got up, walked over there, did not speak a lick of, I think my parents said they were maybe Cambodian, did not speak the language. And all she said was, my sister, and got down on her hands and knees. It was like praying about it, like in front of these pirates. And so they were like arguing and fighting with her, kind of like, oh no, we're going to take some of the girls kind of deal, like pulling them away from my mom. My mom was like fighting back, 8 months pregnant. At that moment, Judah, a helicopter flew over the boat and hit a spotlight on my parents' boat. Okay. And it, in English, was like, we see you, we're coming for you. And so the pirates got like obviously scared, jumped all back on their boat, went off. 45 minutes later, an oil tanker, a big oil tanker from Canada pulled up and took everybody on that boat. So like, honestly, prayer works, faith works. Oh. At that moment, my parents were saved. And then they dropped them off in Malaysia. That's where they ended up at the refugee camp there. Had my sister obviously within a month of being there at the refugee camp. And then, not much to do at the refugee camp. So they got pregnant again. Um,
I knew this part of the story was coming.
so I was conceived and born at the refugee camp. Okay. So, I mean, it's funny, but it's not. Like,
Right. I mean, it's your humor helps what is one of the most unprecedented stories I've ever heard, and certainly ever had relationship with someone. Your story is unprecedented. I don't want to skip, but when you get to towards the end, tell us how that has impacted your worldview and your perspective, and now raising your own two beautiful daughters. I love your baby girls; they're precious. How's that affected? But make sure you finish this story.
yes. So, born at the refugee camp. And so, since I was born, they couldn't let my parents immigrate. So, when they got there, all my aunts and uncles went to other countries. So, we have aunts and uncles in California, and then in Germany, and in Canada. So, like, we're just dispersed everywhere on my mom and dad's side, right? And then I had an uncle that never made it to the refugee camp. His boat sank. And so he died at sea. So I'm telling you, this when I said this was like a crazy journey that my parents risked their lives, they did. And, all for this life that I'm living now. And so fast forward to all of the states that they could have chosen. We came to Oklahoma, and I love Oklahoma so much now. But, like, they were like, oh, yeah, Oklahoma, sure, why not? Not New York, not California, not Florida, nothing like that. So we came to Oklahoma. I grew up here. My parents had 3 more kiddos. Okay, so they're American citizens right off the bat because they were, born and conceived here. But so 5 kids total. And then when I was in first grade, my parents were on a routine, right? So they each worked like 2-3 jobs. We lived in government housing. We lived in a 2-bedroom apartment with 7 people on food stamps, all the things, working hard, American dream. And my parents took English classes at night. So they worked during the day, like anything that they could do just to raise all of us. But they worked so hard. And I remember distinctly this day because the routine was off. My parents are like creatures of the habits. They have routine and they like to stick with it. I remember at school this day, it was my mom that picked us up instead of my dad. And I just thought it was odd because I was like, well, where's dad? Didn't say anything. Dad didn't see dad for a couple of weeks. And then finally, my mom took us, all 5 of us, downtown to this tall red building. Now that I know what it is, it was the Oklahoma County Jail. And then I saw my dad behind a glass wall. And I was like, what's going on? I don't know what's going on. I was in first grade at this time. And then that's when I realized that my dad was like in jail, like was in prison. And again, first grade, didn't understand what was going on. I just remember my mom being so sad. And then she was left to raise us 5, barely knowing the language, working 3 jobs on the food, all the things, trying to make sure we all behaved and were like good kids, and she did an incredible job. And she's a tough woman. When I say I am cut from her cloth, I am so proud that I am. But she did that, right? Fast forward till when I was a sophomore in high school. So Judah, since I was in first grade, all the way until I was in high school, sophomore, junior, my dad was released because he was a model citizen, right? In prison. And then from that moment on, we were fighting to overturn his conviction for a crime that he didn't commit because we know he never did it. So from that point on, all the way, I had graduated, went to college, met my husband, and then that was when we finally were able to get his record expunged, like found a lawyer that fought, and the state was like, yeah, he was wrongly convicted.
How many years total did that take trying to do that?
Oh, goodness. So I was, again, 16 at that time, and I married Brent when I was 26. So like another 10, I'm telling you, this has been like 20 plus years of our lives trying to fight something. Okay, so after he was given the wrongly convicted in the state of Oklahoma, that's not communicated with the immigration courts. So he was still on the docket to be like deported. So like all this time, even when he was released, he had to go check in with his parole officers. He was still on the docket to maybe be deported for a crime, again, that he didn't commit. But once we said, okay, here, look, the court says that he never did anything, it was wrong. They said, well, okay, that's fine, but you still have to hire another lawyer. It has to be an immigration lawyer now to talk to the immigration offices. So that's what we did. And then finally, we got that overturned and he's no longer on the docket to be deported. Then he could apply for his American citizenship and then he could have got a passport. And then not last summer, the summer before last, it was like 2 summers ago, my dad finally was able to fly back home to Vietnam to see his mother after 30 years. Think about that, Judah. I am is, I mean, how old are my older my sister and I am, that he's not hugged his mother. He missed my grandfather's funeral because of all of this. He wasn't allowed to leave the country, and if he did, he wouldn't be allowed to come back.
Yeah.
But the homecoming that he got to see my side of the family over there, magical. And he stayed for 3 months, and then I got to go with Brent and my two girls, and got to meet my side of the family, see how he grew up and all the stories that they had. It was just such a wonderful coming home moment. So that's my story when it comes to my family ending up in Oklahoma. That just
That everybody. That's it. That's it. Trang's husband, BRG, as I call him, Brett Ryan Green. We work together. We're brothers, and we're starting a publishing company, a production company. And if only, Trang, we could find someone to make your life into a movie. If only there was someone out
I
there.
don't know how much I would sell it for, to you guys. It'd probably be a high. Not like there's no family friend discount here.
No. Dude, I mean, this is it. It is so mind-boggling. It's such a gift for you to share. And I just want to say to all our listeners and viewers, like, this is, no small thing for you to be willing to share it here on this platform and in this space. It's a sacred story. It's a precious story. It's a story that is so real and so tangible. And Trying it has so affected me and Chelsea and our family. I don't know how anyone could ask this question, but considering that extraordinary, extensive, and excruciating journey, how do you see the world now, and how has that affected you? And now the work that you're doing, which is so significant and so important, and important to my family. Yeah, was that a question or was that a comment? Like, how has this affected your view, and why are you doing what you're doing?
Okay, so because of the way I grew up, right? We were like very marginalized. Think about an immigrant family. Now you also have a person that's in prison. And at that time, no one understood, like they really thought my dad did this crime. And so growing up was really hard because you kind of like torn, right? People don't want you here. They want to deport you, all these things. But the people who really wrapped their arms around us at that time were really incredible nonprofits. The church did it. The programs that we were like enrolled in that helped us get clothing. Like I didn't even know the mall was a real thing until I was in high school. Like I was like, people shop and buy full price. Like I thought thrift stores were like the mall. Like it blew my mind that people like
Wow.
had money to do this.
Wow.
So growing up, that's what really helped like lay the foundation. I was like, well, if these nonprofits really laid the foundation for my life and my family, it's like, we got to give back in that sense. Like, this is my thank you to the community of the people who really wrapped their arms around us and loved us and cared for us and saw that these 5 children really needed the love. I'm going to do something in that realm. So I started Dress for Success, or I founded the Oklahoma City affiliate. So we're at 145 around the world, but Oklahoma never had one. And so when I was doing the research, the statistics in Oklahoma about like, it's one of the states that had at that time one of the highest incarceration rates for women per capita in the world. What are we doing for the women who are released? Are we actually helping them find work? Like, work is actually a biblical thing. Like, you work, you tend to something, and you are, I think everyone's so gifted in something. Are we helping them? And I think about me and like lost little me growing up, like I would want someone to help guide me too. And I feel for these girls, and because of this work, I'm allowed to go into the prisons here and talk to the girls before they're released. So they know that like, hey, I'm here if you guys need me when you're released, if and when you're released. And if it's in Oklahoma, because sometimes the girls get transferred out of state, depending on how that works for their crime and where they're from. But if they're released here in Oklahoma City, I'm like, come find me. I want to help you find work. Let's get you back on your feet. A lot of them have children. I'm like, let's get those babies back home in your arms. Like, what can we do? Let's do this, because family is so important. And if you want your children back, I want to be able to help you do that. So that is kind of like the basis of why I wanted to start Dress for Success. And then of course it grows from there. We do scholarships. We help the girls go back to school. We help them start their own business. Right now we have a course where they're doing entrepreneur things, business plans, and we're giving them a little seed money to like start their own business, which is so cool to see. We just had one girl open a nonprofit for Black maternal health. That's actually a crisis right now across America, about how African American women die at a higher rate than anybody else during childbirth and postpartum. That's not addressed. So one of my girls at Dress for Success opened a nonprofit here in Oklahoma battling that. And I thought that was so cool that we were able to help her do that and give her a little seed money to open that clinic. So it's little things like that. And I think, again, it goes back to when we immigrated over here with all those little nonprofits that helped me. They really planted seeds in me. And like over this course of, I'm almost 40, 40 years, look what I've been able to do. And hopefully I'm doing the same thing. I'm planting seeds up in other places and in people, because that's the best investment. People ask all the time, right? My husband, BRG, he loves investments. He loves business, and people all the time is like, what have you learned from your husband? Like investment, da, da, da. I'm like, the best investment, hands down, you invest in people. Hands down. Yeah, stocks are great, all that stuff, but that's still volatile. But when you invest in people, you're going to get your return. And it might not be you, but man, what we leave behind, it's worth it.
And that is in so many ways, it's almost tangible. When we're together, we've spent some vacations together and some times with our family, and the profound sense that you have that people are the prize and people are what matters, it's very real being around you, Trang. And I see it, you're instilling it in your two beautiful daughters. Your husband's hopeless, but your daughters, I'm kidding. BRG, I love you. You're the best. But you are instilling that, and it's contagious. I feel it. It's very, it gives me strength and energy in the work that God's asked me to do. Your dedication, your commitment, and perhaps it is fueled by this extraordinary story and miraculous story of God's provision and protection for your family. Could you speak to what's the most surprising thing? Your work in Oklahoma City, what is the most surprising thing as you chair Dress for Success and you go to these prisons and you sit with and listen and care for these women? What's the most surprising thing?
Okay, so running a nonprofit, you run into a lot of people. So it's a business still. You write grants, there's donors, you meet with them, you talk to them. And I'll tell you this story, and this is the synopsis of my answer to you.
Okay.
We had a girl ask us if we had a reputable medical spa in Oklahoma City. She's not from Oklahoma City. When she came to us, she was released through a partner agency. It was a human trafficking organization. And she was like, well, I'm not from Oklahoma City. This is just where I am now. But do you have a reputable med spa here that could remove tattoos? And again, we work with people all the time that have prison tattoos, gang tattoos, all those things. And we're like, yeah, we can find one for you. Do you mind me asking where it is? How old is it? Is a tattoo? Did you get it done professionally? All the questions that they would ask you. How big is it and all this stuff. She's telling us all this stuff. And apparently it was her trafficker had tattooed his name on her back. And we've never seen it before because, again, when we dress somebody, it's just what we see right here. So it wasn't on her arm or her face or her neck or something. And she was like, well, I just didn't know how much it cost and if a reputable place would do it because, I'm doing great, but I feel like this is my last thing that I need to get rid of to really completely heal. And we were like, yeah. Obviously, absolutely. So we're calling around, we're asking how much it would cost. She's showing it's this big, but this, wide and the color's faded. And so this med spa was like, we'll do it for you for free. Tell her we'll do it for free. She doesn't pay for anything, right? Just because it's going to be 8 sessions and every session is $203, span apart 8 weeks. You know how it is to remove a tattoo for a long time. So we're excited and we're calling this agency or we're calling the person who referred her over and we're tell her that this place will do it for free, all this stuff. And then a couple of days later, I get a call back and was like, hey, she said that she's so grateful, but she was wondering if she could donate her tattoo removal to a different girl at the shelter because she needs it more than she does because she has a tattoo that's visible on her neck and her face. And she'll save up money and remove her tattoo, but she thinks her friend needs it more. And that to me is the synopsis of the work that we do. Sometimes it's the people who have nothing to give that gives the most. And it's shocking to me because sometimes I meet with donors and I'm trying to explain to them how important it is that we put women back to work, right? We actually, Judah, got a letter my 4th year of opening Dress for Success from a church that says, I was going to go to hell because I should not be helping women work. That's not our place. I'm not kidding. An actual letter in the mail. Okay. So sometimes I giggle about it because I'm like, you would think that some people would be so for this, but it's just like the girls that I help really ground me because I'm like, you could have gotten something completely free, which you deserve. Absolutely, you deserve this free tattoo removal. But you were like, hey, let me give it to somebody else because she needs to find work and she can't because that tattoo on her neck and her face is really hard for her to get a job. So like, give that to her for free and then I'll be fine. I'm like,
Well,
that is why I love what I do. And that's why I keep doing it, even though there's days that's really, really, really hard. Because you do lose girls sometimes and they go back to prison or we don't know where they are and they don't want our help or they want to talk to us anymore. And that's really hard. But the ones that get it, man, they're going to be leaders. They're going to be the next president. Like I'm telling you, like these girls are
yeah.
awesome. So
Oh,
that's what
that
yeah.
I
Oh, I forgot to tell you too. The story hasn't ended for my dad. So in honor of my dad, I actually helped with a bill in Oklahoma.
that's right.
Um, was brought to the committee in 2000 and well, it was during the pandemic that I did it with a friend who is a senator here in Oklahoma, and she brought it. I went and spoke to the Judicial Committee of Oklahoma, and I told the story. I told them why we were doing this. So in the state of Oklahoma, the compensation for people who are wrongly convicted is a one flat rate, right, of 100 and I think 80K. That's it. So it doesn't matter if you were wrongly incarcerated for a year or 50 years. That's all you get. Okay. We need to be up with the times. It should be per year of incarceration, right? That's what this bill is about. So per year of incarceration, we talk about mental health counseling for those individuals that were wrongly convicted. Like we should be paying for that. If we want people to be able to go back and get work and be normal, happy, healthy citizens here in Oklahoma, this is how we do it. And I think this is something we should really be doing it as a federal mandate.
Great.
And it per year that you're incarcerated and depending on the crime. So those who are on death row should get more, obviously, because it's different facilities, different crimes, all that stuff. But so that bill is House Bill 2773. And so when I spoke to the committee, they passed it unanimously. So we're just waiting for it to go on the floor so they can vote. So hopefully I'll come up next session here in the spring for Oklahoma. So just praying about that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna cry, Train, because I'm not allowed to, but I'm trying not to. Um, ah, but your your dad could have never imagined as he captained that ship, as he says, that someday, you know, uh, his daughter. I'm trying. We can edit out the tears that his daughter would. Ah, we need the emotionally stable ones in our marriage. We need Chelsea and BRG here because they'll keep us from crying. But your dad could have never imagined that his daughter, you know, would would stand in front of governing bodies and institute such change. And I just, we can't not record things like this and just hope that perhaps there are people listening who this will enact change in their life, and they'll be agents of change and agents of healing and agents of life because you know nothing matters more than people, and that's just the way it is. That's really not up for debate or discussion. What does it profit a man to gain the whole world, Jesus said, but in the process lose his soul? The soul of a human uh, is the most valuable thing on the planet. And I want to thank you. I want to thank you for the life you have decided to live. There was a part of your life that you didn't choose. And then there came a point where you decided that your journey would lead you into this work. And, I'm not trying to be crass or crude, but you don't do this because you have to. You don't do this to pay the bills. You do this because of passion and purpose. And it means a lot to me and my family. It means a lot to, I know your daughters are watching. I want to cry again. Like, get it together, Judah. But, your beautiful baby girls are watching their mom, already be a force. And, I just admire you. And I really, really do hope that there are thousands of people watching, that are going, I can enact change, in every small step in valuing and protecting and providing for humans. is so significant. So um, I'm going to try to conclude this interview with a ridiculous little exercise that we're doing because I guess that's the only way I'm going to get myself together here. So sorry for making you cry. Your skin still looks amazing, which is super annoying.
Now, so it's okay.
Yeah, super annoyed. Super annoyed. I don't appreciate it at all. Um, Trang Green, we do this thing called rock, paper, scissors this season on In Good Faith. Now my nose is running everything, but rock, paper, scissors, you've heard of the game,
Okay.
but we're taking a little bit different angle on it. Rock is the thing that is like holding you down and keeping you firm. Paper is the one thing in your life you're like, I'm really reconsidering and thinking about this area of my life. And scissors is something you are trying to cut out of your life. So Trang Green,
Okay.
rock, paper, scissors. You can be as candid as you want.
Okay.
What's your rock? What's your paper? And what's your scissors as we speak?
I'll start with scissors.
Okay, perfect.
I'm about to be 40, Judah. We're cutting out, seriously, cutting out just bad people. You are who you hang out with.
Wow.
No, I love people, obviously, but we
Yes,
cut them out because you can't get to where you are if people are weighing you down. Okay? You just can't. What I'm iffy about, kind of like, I'm on the fence about being healthy. It's like, really? I mean, because like, I love a good burger, okay? And I love fries. We know at 40, your body's like, you stop it. You stop it.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's true.
Bermon, BRG. I love him. Okay. But those out there who don't know my husband, man, he's in for a wild ride. You know, he has been since the day he met me. You know, I say what I want to say. I believe in what I believe in, and he's just
Right.
supporting me ever since. You know, when I told him I was going to do this nonprofit, we're going to spend our own money on it. We're going to help people. Then I was like, I'm going to do this bill. He was like, go for it, babe. I got you. You know,
Love that.
firm foundation. Yeah.
Well, I can't tell you how excited I am for this to air on In Good Faith. I really mean that. This has been incredible. BRG he's such a special, sexy man. I love that guy, and that's just what it is. And so, BRG, you're going to love this episode, BRG. This is a good one. Trang Green, we got to do this again.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
I
Trang,
want to
that was
show everybody something real fast.
okay.
You know, like BRG and you guys golf. You guys are avid golfers. You love golf.
Yeah.
You do your little golf tournaments, all the things. Okay.
Okay.
So yesterday we pulled in the girl. We went to go pick the girls up from school. Brent was home, so he was like, "I'll come with you." So we pull into his garage. I never pull into his garage because we have like a little separate garage situation. We pull up, Judah, and I'm like, "Why are there holes and divots in the ceiling of the roof?" Judah, holes and divots above where he golfs. Judah, I don't know if you could. Do you see?
Do you know how bad of shots those are? That mean, now we're outing BRG. What is happening with his golf swing?
Judah, there are holes in my ceiling.
BRG, like, you gotta get yourself together, man.
I said, the amount of time you golf, you're not very good. I was like, and then our sweet Winter, when he gets out of the car and she stands there and she goes, Dad, I counted 20 holes. She just walks back into the house like she was just so disappointed.
Oh, Winter and Haven, I love you. If you're watching this, Uncle Judah loves you.
Oh my
You're
goodness.
the best. You're the best. Trang, I can never thank you enough. Let's do this again. You're the best.
Thank you so much.